With this problem, student answer sheet and test results, I picked this problem because it also contains a lot of really common stuff that you see in FRQs. Among them, uh, iterating through array lists, getting items from an array list. And then this one has two classes that are interrelated. There is the student sheet that contains the answers for a particular student. And then there is test results, which has a whole array of student answer sheets. And then, of course, you have to call the method getScore on each answer sheet. And that's just a really common thing where you're given two classes or two methods, and one of those calls the other one. So let's get going on this one. The first method is just to calculate the score of a particular student answer sheet. Again, the class is student answer sheet, and the class has the student's answers in it. We are assuming that those are initialized already. This method getScore is given the key to the test, and we are to calculate the answers. 1 point for correct, a quarter point off for incorrect, and then no points either way for unanswered questions. That reminds me that this also has comparisons of strings in it, which is another thing you need to be confident with. So we'll need a score variable. Probably don't need to make it public private here though. We're going to be returning that score, so it is a double, not an int. There we go. We need to initialize it. And then we just need a for loop that goes through each answer in the key and the answer list for the student. So you can use either one as the length or size in this because they are the same size. So I'm going to go less than key.size. So here's a case where we're using .size instead of .length, and it is a method, so you need the parentheses there. So we're going to compare, and you can write the if statements in several different ways for this. I guess first I would check to see if they're matching, because if they're matching, then you would definitely give them a point. So we're going to get a value from the key. We're going to call .get on array list versus using the brackets and the index for the array. And we're comparing two strings, so make sure you use .equals. If you use double equals, you will lose the point for this whole if statement. This if statement is going to be 1 point. You have to get every part of it correct to get that point. You have to call .get, you have to call .equals, and then we're comparing this to the student's answer sheet, which is in an array list called answers. So we're going to go answers. So if those match, we will go score plus equals 1. If they don't match, we need to determine, did they guess and get it wrong, or did they just not answer it? So I'll make a nested if. I guess you could go else if here, whichever. Oops. So if they didn't get it right, if answers.get I equals a question mark, then I guess score plus equals 0. I probably should have gone doesn't equal a question mark, and then I would have just taken off the quarter point if I'd been thinking about ahead of time. So you can write that the other way around. So if they didn't get it right and they didn't put a question mark, that means they got it wrong. So then their score needs to go down by a quarter of a. All right. And then I think all we have to do is return their score, and we're good. Yep. So again, don't forget to return, always double check when you're writing these, double check your header. Is it a void method? Does it return something? So in this case, we have to return the score. And then the second method, which is a little bit more complex, just again because they introduce a second class. The second class consists of an array of student answer sheets. So it's not an array of strings or anything like that. It's an array of objects. We're going to get an object from that list. We're going to ask for the score of that object, and then we're going to find the highest score. So we're going to be calling the getScore method. Do not write the same code in this method that calculates the score because we already did that. You will lose points for rewriting code that already exists. So I have the header written out for this one already. When you're looking for the highest value, really it makes most sense to keep track of the highest position as opposed to the highest score itself, because you need to know where that score occurred, not just what the score is. So it makes most sense. I mean, you can keep track of both the position and the score itself, but for simplicity, you really just need the position of the high score. So I'm going to write my for loop again that goes through the key. Wait a minute. No, we're not going through the key at all. That's my mistake. We are going through the answer sheets. The key has been given to us, and the purpose of that key is just that we can send it to the getScore method. We are going through the answer sheets. So we can store the current score. We need to call getScore on one of the answer sheets. So we're going to go sheets dot get I. That's going to get us an answer sheet, which is that class that we wrote the method for in the first problem. Then we're going to call getScore on that answer sheet. And of course, we need to call it correctly. GetScore requires that you send it the key. And so we will pass it the key that we were given in this method. We're going to take a look at that score and ask if it is, if score is greater than or equal to, I'm putting greater than or equal to, it doesn't really matter what if you put just greater than here because they said that you could return the name of any high scoring student. Sometimes they might specify that they want the score, the name of like the first highest score student, but in this case it doesn't matter. So if that score is bigger than the score of the highest scoring spot, so in that case we would go sheets dot get high position, which right now is 0. So we're just going to be comparing two scores to themselves here. Dot get score. If it's higher, then the high position needs to become the value of I, whatever position we're on right now. So we'll let that for loop run. And when it is finished, it should tell us the position at which the highest scoring student occurred. And then we are supposed to return the name of that highest scoring student, which of course the answer sheet has a getName method. So we will simply return sheets dot get high position. So that gives us access to that sheet, and then we need to get the name of the student whose sheet that is. And there you go. So we ran a search, not a search, we ran an algorithm to find the highest value and then return the name of that student.